country that is called Africa. Unfortunately, I'm not going to live to see that country, but that's what I've lived for all my lifetime. Therefore, the fact that we don't understand each other is because in our discourse there is no contact. You emphasize a district, I emphasize a country. Now, when you get to understand our vision as Africans, not Ugandans, not Tanzanians, not Congolese, not Nigerians, but as Africans, our vision for the struggle of the independence, value, and dignity of the African person, then shall be at par. While you are looking for employment, for us we are looking for liberation of the unfinished, finishing the unfinished agenda of liberating Africa. We began in Ruwero. We didn't go to Ruwero 6 for employment. We came here to responsibility for managing Uganda. We are not employed for managing Uganda. We are using Uganda for purposes of liberating Africa. So when you look for employment, which is your legitimate demand, you should also know that some of us are engaged in finishing the business of liberating Africa. I had an opportunity to meet the late Mwalimu Nyerere while I was doing my internationalist duty and patriotic duty, rendering service to the people of Congo. There are people who don't understand some of these concepts and think Uganda was invading Congo. No! I didn't go to invade Congo. I went to render service to my brethren people of Congo. They had a problem and I was helping. I didn't invade Congo. How can I invade Congo when I didn't create it? Who created the Congo? Was it me? Was it my grandfather? Was it my great-grandfather? If the western border of Uganda had been put in Kinshasa, where would Congo be? If the eastern border of Congo had been put in Mombasa, where would Uganda and Kenya be? Those were decisions which were made at a conference in Berlin where we were not present. So how can I invade a country I did not create, but a country inhabited by people of my ilk, blood, aspirations, and destiny? We are a rich continent, very rich. But I must blame our generation, those of us who are in charge of affairs of Africa, for not turning the resources of Africa into solace and comfort for our people. That's why they drowned in the Mediterranean, running away from resource-rich Africa to resource-exhausted Europe. The other time, the Kaweba's great-grandfathers were taken in chains. They were taken unwillingly. These days, our people are paying for going to be slaves in Europe. And yet we are here masquerading with flag independence. Excellencies, Honorable Ugandans, Kenyans, Tanzanians, I was telling you that I had the opportunity to meet the late Julius Nyerere when I was in the Congo. That's the last time I saw him alive. I found him at Arusha. Something very interesting when he was at Arusha, when Makongoro, who was MP for Arusha, came in. Now Makongoro was Nyerere, Nyerere was Nyerere's son, but he was a different party. He was the MP for Arusha. So Mwalimu told me, he said, huyo ni mbunge, huyo ni mheshimiwa, lakini sio wa kwetu. Mark this. He said that man is a member of parliament. He's I don't know, member of parliament, but he's not ours. Meaning that him and I were CCM, the other one. So you can see, he was his son, but he was his ideological adversary. Nyerere and I believed in CCM. His own son believed in something else. But the Heshima accorded him. Yeah, he was a member of parliament and he respected him, but he didn't believe in his ideas. And that brings me to what Nema has said. That you say Nyerere's ideas were wrong. Yes, they were wrong as far as you are concerned because you don't understand them. You've not taken the trouble to discover what Nyerere was trying to do. When you don't understand it, you think it's wrong. Why don't you sit down, eat humble pie, find out what Nyerere was trying to do in the circumstances, then you can judge him scientifically, historically, and correctly. Mambo yake yalikuwa pale. Mambo yake yalikuwa ndoto. Mambo ya Mwalimu Nyerere hazikuwa ndoto. They were not dreams. They were ideas. Ideas generated after careful thinking. The late Nyerere was a philosopher. He understood the world, he understood life, he understood and appreciated humanity. He never said it. He was not part and parcel of your dancing clubs. He never spent his time in partying, driving fast cars, and admiring Arsenal and Man U. Yeah? Where do you spend your time, young people? Arsenal, Man U. In my own house, I have a wall. There are Arsenal supporters, there are Man U supporters. When there is football, I go to bed. When there is football, I go to bed because I don't want to witness the confrontation. Now, when you are busy fighting over who is winning, Arsenal, Man U, I don't know the other one. Who's up? What? When you are busy fighting over those clubs, some of us are worried of our exit, the possible exit without completing our African liberation agenda. It's the African liberation agenda that is a sine qua non for the prosperity, welfare, and dignity of the African people. We must turn the vast resources of Africa into solace, comfort, and welfare for our people. That's what we should be working towards. Nyerere was preaching the philosophy of kujitegemea, self-reliance. From a very early stage, he understood that nobody in this world owes us a living. We are on our own. We are on our own. Those people you run to come and help you shape up your democracy, shape up your politics. What I would say in the Ugandan verb, saying that Kurumbe went to Kulimwansiru. When a cow has died, there is no silly dog. When a cow is crying, every dog is smiling. Because they take advantage of our pain. They want us to stay where we are, so that, like Mzee Mtuku said, so that we remain rich and we remain poor. There is a symbiotic relationship between our poverty and their wealth. There is a symbiotic relationship between the poverty of the South and the wealth of the North. We are not wealthy because we never colonized. We are not wealthy because we never exploited anybody. But we are not wealthy because we also not using our intellect to deny those people opportunity to keep on keeping us as sources of raw material and the market for finished industrial goods. When we are trying to do it, what happens? Demonstration in the street. We deploy tear gas which we don't manufacture. Hired crowds and support. General chaos. Nobody wants Africa to stabilize, because when it stabilizes and rediscovers itself and starts utilizing its resources, then somebody somewhere will go hungry. Now you young people work very hard to ensure that we rescue our resources. Rescue our resources and turn them into solace and comfort for our people. If you were on the street demonstrating for that, I would join you. But you are there demonstrating because they have night Twitter. I don't know how many people have Twitter. The Ugandans have Twitter companies because they have increased the price of fuel. There is an increase of price of fuel. Commodities have gone up. You don't even know the genesis of why the commodities have gone up. You don't know the genesis of why the world economy is upside down, because Russia is fighting with NATO in Ukraine. And you don't know why they are fighting. NATO and Russia are fighting in Ukraine for survival. Russia must survive and NATO must survive. Why don't you sit down and find out what is the problem? What's the exact problem? Nobody is interested in going to war to die. War, you resort to war as a last resort. When everything else has failed, then you go to war. The war need not be justified and legitimate. No. There are unjust wars and just wars. When you are fighting for freedom, for self-actualization, for liberation, for dignity, that's a justified war. When you are fighting for domination, for exploitation, you may be strong, but that's an unjust war, and that's an enduring war which will never end. So the war of contradiction between the exploiter and the exploited, in our terms, will not end. And that's what the late Julius Nyerere and others like him were struggling for. That's why you don't understand them. That's why you think their policies were wrong. Nyerere's policies were not wrong. You are the ones who are wrong. You are wrong because you don't take the trouble to conceptualize what the late Nyerere, in his time, under the circumstances, was struggling to achieve. Uhuru, umoja, na kujitegemea. Independence, unity, and self-reliance. That's what the late Nyerere was struggling for. And that's why we honor him as probably the greatest African and black person that has ever lived. That's why some of us, he's an inspiration. That's why some of us owe him a debt. Our debt is to fulfill, actualize what he lived for, struggled for all his lifetime, and left unfinished. It's our responsibility to finish what he started. When we don't finish it, we should hand over the baton to you to finish it. But how can we hand it over to you when you are busy supporting Manu and buying holy rice and holy rice and what else do they say in the church? Holy water, holy rice. You can imagine. What is it? Are we going to liberate this country? Are we going to liberate our mankind with holy rice and holy water? Do you believe that? That we shall pray and Africa will be free? No. We have to die a little. We have to eat a little, like Nyerere said, for us to be free. We must have a discussion about how to improve the quality of life of our people on the continent. We have to have a discussion about stopping being Ugandans and becoming Africans. I am an African from the eastern province of Africa, the district of the Ugandan, the African district of Uganda, who happens to be born in a village called Cheng. When we start thinking like that, when we start thinking as Africans, when we start thinking as people who deserve a place in the sun, dignity, then we know where we are going. Our problem is misdiagnosis of our disease. We've not been able to clearly diagnose our disease. Those who have diagnosed it have been silent and mum about it. I didn't choose Mzee Utiku. There is somebody I want to accuse. Mzee Utiku. You know, he was accusing me of fighting Idi Amin. He was giving us the money. Without Mzee Utiku, Musasani would not have come this far. He must have proud Mzee Utiku. He was the one taking care of us when we were fighting against Idi Amin. And you know what detractors were telling us? The General Idi Amin may be short on grey matter, but he's a genial giant. Short on grey matter, and he's the one running our country. Why don't you take him and he goes and runs your country? That we should accept Idi Amin or take you along and shape your destiny. That was an insult, you know. Accept this stupid man to shape your destiny because you are equally stupid. That's what it was. And at one time I asked myself, I said, God, are you the one who created me? Do you create these others also? You, God, who created me? Are you the one who made these ones? Who hated me as a savior? Are you the one who created them? Why did you create them? Why did you cheat them? So, young people, Africans, we must struggle very hard to ensure that we finish the unfinished business of African liberation. Political liberation, even political liberation, I'm not very sure. Yes, we may have flag independence, but are we independent? That independence can only be achieved when we have economic independence, when we operate at par with others in the world. We don't have to invent the wheel. All we have to do is to know what we want. Then we can use knowledge that is abundant in the world. Now there are computers. There is knowledge everywhere. All we have to do is harness that knowledge and deploy it to our advantage. Decrease, reduce our dependency on other people. Stop being producers of raw material and in a market for finished industrial goods. And we can only do that when we unite. Tanzania cannot go to the moon on its own. Congo can't go to the moon on its own. Uganda can't go to the moon on its own. Kenya can't go to the moon on its own. But us combined can reach the moon. When we all contribute to a moon research program, we shall achieve it. When we all contribute towards developing nuclear capacity, we shall succeed. Why do you think these people have nuclear capacity when they can't deploy it? It's because they are moved from barrels of power to barrels of terror. Who are you if you can't balance that terror? You Africans get angry, but you have no way of expressing your anger. You get angry, you are not happy, but you have no way to express your anger because you are incapable of expressing your anger because you are not part of the terror club. You are not part of the terror club because you are Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, with flags and independence and excellencies and so forth, but you are incapable of terrorizing the rest of the world into submission or into agreeing with you. Into agreeing with you. Why? You had this poor man, President Zelensky, asking for sky support. And everybody says, not me. Everybody, ask for that one. Not me. Why? Why does the internet want to support Zelensky to attack Russia? Because they know the possible consequences. What they are not doing to Russia is what they did to Gaddafi. What they are afraid of doing to Russia is what they did to Gaddafi with impunity. And we're all here watching. The West is liberating Libya. The West is liberating Libya. Where is the liberated Libya? Gaddafi may not have been good, but Libya was there as a country. Gaddafi is gone, so is Libya. As of now, we don't know who's in charge of Libya. As of now, we don't know where the resources of Libya are going. As of now, we don't know the fate of the Libyan people. And there is no way Africa can say we are okay. Because I'm wearing a nice shirt, a nice trousers, when my last toe is hurting, which you don't see, the body is not okay. For as long as Libya weeps, the rest of Africa cannot be okay. And it's not only Libya. Look at Somalia, look at South Africa, look at it. Have you asked yourselves why whenever there is a problem, the late Professor Mazrui was teaching us this, and he was referring to the conflict between Somalia and Kenya. And he said, do you know what these Somalians and the Kenyans are fighting for? We said no. He said it's a piece of desert. It's a piece of desert. And he said, you know what? He said, wherever there is a desert and there are Arabs, there must be oil. So there is a desert, there are Arabs, there must be oil. I don't know what there is, what they were fighting for, but I don't know, I've not read the geological report, but it looks like he was not wrong. You look across the continent. Tell me where they have peace and they are only producing bananas. You tell me. Wait for your time here. I'm telling you. That's why we as African people must prepare for these eventualities. You know, avoid what divides us, emphasize what unites us. When a lion finds two impala bulls fighting for mating rights, what does the lion do? Interfere? No. It just waits for the end of the fight to have its dinner. Because they end the fight by one impala, one bull, injuring its opponent. So what the lion does is after the fight, it goes for the winner. Because the winner has exhausted itself fighting, it has no capacity to run away. So it kills the winner and then comes for the injured. Because this one is injured, it can't go away, and the lion has a nice dinner at no cost itself. That's what is happening to us Africans. We spend all our resources, energy, thoughts, and beliefs fighting among ourselves, while our detractors are just there seated watching and cheering. At the end of the day, we make a very good dinner. With those few words, let me read. Now I'm so big. Otafiire have become representative of His Excellency the President. Let me read the message for the President. I also commend the University upon celebrating this gallant son of Africa and the United Republic of Tanzania. On the very day he passed away, the ideas Mwalimu Nyerere inspired and shaped. His ideas inspired and shaped many patriotic revolutionaries that led to the independence of African nations, especially the East and Southern Africa. Together with Kwame Nkrumah, they formed the beacons of Pan-Africanism that many young and budding leaders looked up to and aspired to emulate. The Uganda say, "Kamu kamu we Muganda," which means when translated into English, one by one makes a bundle. This proverb recognizes that small coalescing efforts can and will eventually lead to the attainment of large collective aspirations. Pan-Africanism at its core is about creating a sense of unity, of brotherhood, and recognizing that the true strength is forged through collaboration. Mwalimu Nyerere recognizes this and set out to achieve this through his Ujamaa pro-socialist movement. Mwalimu Nyerere was quoted as to have said, "Unity will not make us rich, but can make it difficult for Africa and African peoples to be disregarded and humiliated." Let me repeat this. Unity will not make us rich, but can make it difficult for Africa and African peoples to be disregarded and humiliated. Reflecting on the importance of unity as reflected in this quote, we may wish to remember that the disunity of our African people led to the whole continent, apart from Ethiopia, being colonized by 1900. The fragmentation based on our different kingdoms, tribes, clans, meant that we could not put up a formidable force to stand against the advancing colonial armies. We must learn from these shortcomings of fragmentation to resolve to do better. Last week, while presiding over Makerere at the 100th Grand Finale event, I shared with them that I did not put Makerere as my choice while filling out my university entry forms. My first, second, and third choices were all placed at the University of Dar es Salaam. Why? I wanted to be close to Mwalimu Nyerere, where I could learn about his ideals of Pan-Africanism and African socialism. I would later become a very active student leader, leading the University Students' African Revolutionary Front. My time at the University of Dar es Salaam was right after Pan-Africanists had come together to form the Organization of African Unity in 1963 in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. The aspirations of OU founding fathers were to rid Africa of lingering pockets of colonialism and apartheid powers, promote unity and solidarity, coordinate and intensify cooperation and efforts to achieve better livelihoods, defend sovereignty, territorial integrity and independence, eradicate all forms of colonialism, and promote international cooperation. Straight away I could see that these objectives were deeply rooted in the ideas of Pan-Africanism, which helped me as a young leader then to renew my commitment to the actual function of Pan-Africanism. What became apparent at this point was the centrality of the issue of leadership, especially servant leadership, as a vehicle to advance the cause of Pan-Africanism and carry it forward to all African nations, generations, especially you, the grandchildren. It's on this basis that we founded the Julius Nyerere Leadership Center at Makerere as a presidential initiative to establish a platform where young people could learn from the elders. Our expectation then was that the center could help in imparting ideals necessary for leadership, skills, and ideas of Pan-Africanism to young people. The center is a good illustration of the African concept of a choto. A choto is a fireplace where elders sat in the evening and orally passed on history, wisdom to the grandchildren. The choto therefore occupied a central place as a think tank where policies were debated and strategies for future implementation laid in view of lessons that history had provided. Once again, I am happy that Makerere has provided a platform to debate the idea of Pan-Africanism in today's setting. Our population now stands at 46 million, with 55% of these below the age of 18. What do these grandchildren think of Pan-Africanism? Do they know what it is? And if they do, what are their thoughts and how can we take Pan-Africanism forward? These are very key questions that deserve to be answered at the nearest opportune time. Finally, I'm happy that our presidential initiative, through the Julius Nyerere Leadership Center, is already starting to create a platform where elders and the grandchildren can come together and talk about principles espoused by Pan-Africanism right from its inception to its present day state. It's our sincere hope and expectation that the youth will be able to learn from the elders, and the elders will be inspired by the contemporary ideas of the young ones, so that together we can revitalize and lay strategies of advancement of the Pan-Africanism in the 21st century. I thank you. That's the message from